IShowSpeed is on a tour of Africa. And I have thoughts. IShowSpeed, a popular YouTuber, is touring Africa right now and is breaking the internet. Oh, yeah. He is probably the most watched person on the internet right now. And he's giving all of us a sober visual of what Africa and African nations truly look like. Now, as beautiful as his tour of Africa has been to witness, my opinion is nuanced. For those of you who don't know, I'm a first-generation Cameroonian American, and I've been to the continent 5 times. So I've seen the African continent portrayed in a number of different ways. Because of my background, I've seen different depictions of Africa. And to be honest, none that have been completely accurate. Africa is such a wide continent that your experience will differ from one nation, from one region to the next. Not to mention growing up in the West, where the portrayal of African nations has been problematic, to say the least. I mean, I'm pretty sure that most of us, having grown up in the diaspora or in the West or in different parts of the world, have seen Africa displayed like this. Gnats in the eyes, skin and bones, sleeping in the mud. The richest continent in the world displayed as the most poverty-stricken, runt of the litter place in the world. This is the part where my opinion gets nuanced. And it's not to say that starvation and famine and poverty, all of these things that we've sometimes seen in pop culture, don't exist in Africa. Because we are seeing a sober depiction of Africa through his live streams, we're also seeing that some of these myths, both negative and positive, need to be debunked. There has been a romanticizing of Africa that I think IShowSpeed's depiction helps us get over. I've been seeing on threads and on social media Black Americans that are talking about relocating to Ghana or relocating to African nations. But if you see what he's showing, you will see that the way of life, from the language to the behaviors to what he's eating, the comfort level, are completely different than what you may experience in the West. To think that as an African born in the diaspora or having grown up in the diaspora, or a Black American or a person from the West would move to Africa or to an African nation and feel like all their problems would go away is a complete lie. Yes, African nations have a lot of great things about them, but let me tell you, if you've been accustomed to the comfort and luxuries of the West, you're in for a rude awakening. Now here's where IShowSpeed's portrayal of Africa is not 1000% sober. IShowSpeed is probably a millionaire. He has millions and millions of subscribers on YouTube, millions and millions of followers. He is being treated as a king out there. The average person going to African nations won't be treated the same way that IShowSpeed is. If you have a lot of money to blow and you have connections in these nations and you have a plan, okay, more power to you. But if you think that you're gonna show up to Africa and get McDonald's, AAA, Wingstop, and your nails done every single week, think again. As I mentioned earlier, I've had the blessing of going to 5 different African nations, from the West to the South to the East, and I've noticed that it is a complete different way of life. It's even different than those of us who grew up in the diaspora. Yes, we connect to our brothers and sisters living on the continent because we don't feel quite at home here based on the culture that we've inherited from our parents. But when we go back to the continent, you may not feel at home just as much because there are some luxuries and some comforts and some habits and behaviors that we've developed here that are not the norm back on the continent. A few things that I've noticed from my travels in Africa was the difference in shops being open and how readily available things are to get. Think about it. Here in America, if I want something, all I need to do is get Uber Eats or Amazon, and at the snap of a finger, it's at my doorstep. That type of speed doesn't yet exist in African nations. Let's talk a little bit about infrastructure. You want to start a business? You want to go to the bank? You want to get medical help? Do you think that it will be as readily available as it is here in America? Absolutely not. There is definitely a way to thrive on the continent, but you can't step into it romanticizing it and completely blind to the realities that you'll experience once you're there. I love IShowSpeed's live streams because it gives us a taste of what being in Africa really is like. However, remember that you're seeing it through the lens of a millionaire and an extremely famous person who's being treated VIP everywhere he goes. So what do you think? Does IShowSpeed's tour of Africa give us a realistic view of African nations, or does it perpetuate more narratives that may not be completely true? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.